All right, the LSU bullpen off to a historic start. Really, all the pitching has been good. I'm going down through the stat sheet. I'm like 1 inning here, 2.2 here, no hits, a bunch of strikeouts, only facing a handful of batters. And that's how it's going to be early in the season. As we kind of talked about off the top, you're playing weaker competition, not really getting tested until SEC play. There's not really a massive marquee non-conference game that comes to mind, maybe minus Nebraska when LSU hits the road for Frisco, where the Tigers are actually going to play some potent competition on paper until conference play. But it's baseball. On any given day, you could see a close game. LSU had plenty of those last year, even when they were on their tear early in the season. But I'll tell you this, you can't argue with facts, and this is a fact. 45 strikeouts and 2 walks on opening weekend for this Tiger pitching staff. That is straight dominance, and that is stuff you like to see. Jay Johnson mentioned that Purdue-Fort Wayne's head coach, I believe Coach Schreiber was his name, said that LSU dominated the strike zone. And he kind of compared that to the line of scrimmage in football where, you want to dominate it from a pitching standpoint, as in getting in early on counts, hammering the zone, but then also from an offensive standpoint, not swinging at bad pitches and, forcing pitchers to get behind in counts from an opposing standpoint, if that makes sense. And LSU really did that in this opening series. How many guys did they pitch? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You get the point. Like 14 or 15 guys, and that's not even everybody. Like the soundbite that really sticks out to me from opening weekend was after Sunday's game when Chase Shore started and Cowan pitched a little bit, and then Cade Woods closed things out. And he said that Guidry, Ware, and one other name, I forget, it's escaping me at the moment. Guidry, Cowan, Ware. Yeah, those three. Guidry, Cowan, and Ware hadn't even pitched yet. And LSU dominated that opening series and had 45 strikeouts. And Guidry, we all know what Gavin Guidry can do. He's probably going to be a starter or a guy that pitches a decent amount of innings, trying to extend this year, basically. Instead of going 1 or 2 innings, he wants to go like 3 or 4, if not more. So we know what he can do. Connor Ware was the best pitcher on the team in the fall, and he looked excellent against Southern in that non-conference game. 3 hitless innings, 3 scoreless innings in that start, his first as an LSU Tiger. And then Zach Cowan also pitched 3 innings against the Jags, allowed 2 hits, no earned runs, with 3 strikeouts facing 11 batters. So highly efficient. And Coach Johnson said that all 3 of those names, Guidry, Cowan, and Ware, are going to be obviously big impacts on this pitching staff, and they're going to go at least 50 innings this season. And they didn't even have an opportunity to pitch on opening weekend. It's just insane. I really think, and I know this is kind of like this every year, where 20 guys pitch and they all look good. You're like, wow, this team has insane depth. No, this is not going to, this sheet of paper right here with all these names, all these numbers and stats, it's not going to look like that in late April when the Tigers are in the heat of SEC play, playing Alabama or whoever. It's probably going to be 10 guys max that you'll see out of the bullpen from a starting standpoint. The numbers are going to dwindle as guys make mistakes and things like that. We're not at practice. I'm sure that there's things at practice that coaches like to see that they don't see, and that's why players maybe don't get opportunities in the games. So the point is, these numbers are going to shrink, but this is a really good starting point because everybody that has entered the game thus far, starting, relief, whatever, has looked really good. So now it's kind of just a matter of finding your top 10 to 12. And again, just like the outfield situation, it's better to have more options than less options. So kind of just running through the list of names that really impressed me. I think we got to start with William Schmidt, and this is the bullpen we're going to start with first, by the way. So he pitched 2 2/3 against Purdue-Fort Wayne, allowed 1 hit with 4 strikeouts, and he faced 9 batters. So only 1 guy obviously got on base, an opponent batting average of 111. So that's just pure dominance. And they wanted to work his pitch count up more because they think that he could be a guy that potentially starts this year. How good of a lineup would that? Cade Anderson on Friday, Anthony Ianson on Saturday, Chase Shores on Sunday, Connor Ware looked really good on Tuesday, and then you got William Schmidt, who apparently could also be a starter. There's not enough days in the week for these guys to all start and pitch. It's crazy. But Schmidt was getting guys out too fast, so he couldn't get to the number of pitches they were hoping to get him to as he continues to ramp up. But I think he could be your kind of like Griffin Herring this year. Like you had your starters last season. Herring would come in and throw 4 to 6 innings, whatever you needed him to do. He could extend or he could do short stints. he was one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher on LSU's team last year, but he came out of the bullpen. I think that Schmidt could be that guy this year that you bring out on a Friday, on a Saturday, when someone's struggling or your starter goes 5 or 6, and you want Schmidt to just come in and close that thing out. You get through a Friday, a Saturday win with 2 pitchers. I mean, I think Schmidt could be that guy if he's not able to overtake Connor Ware or Chase Shores or something like that. He's going to have a role, and I think that could be his role, because out of all the relief pitchers, minus Zach Cowan, he's the one that went the furthest. 2 2/3. Cowan went 3 against Southern. Moving on, Kason Evans also looked really good. He's also part of that freshman quartet, along with Cooper Williams and Maverick Rizzi, that people have talked a lot about. I know we've talked a lot about just how mentally strong these guys are and how ready-made they are, and it was on full display, has been on full display thus far early in the season. Evans pitching 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, 3 up, 3 down, both innings. Only faced 6 batters, didn't give up a single hit. Dominant. He looked really good. I think that he's a guy that they expect to start in the future. I don't know if that's this year, but I would expect to see a lot of Kason Evans out of the bullpen, and I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that gets chopped from the rotation as the season goes along. I really don't. Other guys that really looked good, Connor Benj, 1 2/3, 3 strikeouts against 5 batters. He went home for winter break, and the coaching staff said he came back like a completely different player. I'll be curious to find out if that kind of consistency and dominance can continue. DJ Primo and Cade Woods had some short stints, but good stints. A lot of Ks working through pretty easily. Cooper Williams, Jacob Myers from Santa Maria, Nichols transfer, Maverick Rizzi, the final of those 4 freshman pitchers, along with Cooper Williams, and Grant Fontenot. They all pitched 1 inning, and they all only saw 3 batters, so it was 3 up and 3 down in their opportunities. Zach Cowan's the last name we got to mention as far as the bullpen goes. So Connor Ware went 3 against Southern. Zach Cowan entered the game and pitched 3 in his own right and looked really good. Obviously, he was Wofford's ace last year before transferring in. Already mentioned his stat line. He's another guy that could end up starting, but I think that he's kind of like Schmidt, someone that can extend out of the bullpen in some situations. Not a very fast thrower, low 90s, high 80s, but along with Ware, it's kind of seeking out that soft contact and whatnot. Though I have seen Cowan get lit up. That was against LSU's lineup, granted. So, you put yourself in some difficult situations when you're that kind of a pitcher, but thus far, it's been so far so good. Southern did get to him a little bit. It seemed like he was in some high leverage situations at times, along with Anthony Ianson against Purdue Fort Wayne, but he was able to get out of those jams relatively pain-free. All right, and then to wrap up, let's just chat about the starting rotation. I don't think that anything's really going to change in the near future. It might be a while till we see that. Last year, there was some debate about Thatcher Hurd and Luke Holman and Gage Jump, and those guys, shook around, moved around a little bit. I don't think that we're going to see a lot of movement here, at least for a little while. I think Cade Anderson is locked in as your Friday guy until otherwise. Like his one appearance he's made, and he's obviously going to make more as the season goes along against Purdue Fort Wayne, was straight dominant. So I think it's going to take a lot for the coaching staff to want to make a change there on Friday. 5 innings, 4 hits, was ahead of hitters basically the whole game, 8 strikeouts, faced 17 batters, and I'm sure he could have gone another inning or 2 if he wanted to. But right now the coaching staff's kind of, ramping them up slowly but surely and moving them along that way. So they don't want to, have them. When you have the depth and the amount of options they have from a pitching standpoint, there's no reason to have a guy out there for 7 innings when he can go 5, and you got guys that can do the job. And you're also trying to give those guys looks and stuff early in the season. So Ianson, really everybody did 5 innings besides Ware on the Tuesday. Ianson goes for 5. He was a little more shaky than Cade, and they gave up the same amount of hits, 4. But Ianson was in some precarious situations. He also gave up a run. 1 earned run on his stat line. He gave up a double or 2. He had guys in scoring position. He was able to get out of those situations for the most part. But Purdue Fort Wayne was kind of getting to him for a minute there. For a while on that Saturday, Purdue Fort Wayne had 3 or 4 hits and LSU had 1. And you were kind of, at least for a second, man, what's going on here? This might get a little, interesting. And then obviously LSU picked it up from there, and Ianson did as well. But for the most part, pretty good. 6 strikeouts. Mentioned the double he gave up. So I think he's only going to get better and better. The thing with Ianson is his consistency and mental fortitude. So when things get tough, when guys get on second and third, the calling card for him is that he's going to pitch the same. It's as if they're not even there. So that's what I would expect to see from Ianson, and I don't see a reason to move him from the Saturday position right now. Met his family, by the way. Great people. Transferred from UC San Diego. Also was looking at Tennessee and Texas, and he's really happy to be here in Baton Rouge. Chase Shores. So the thing with Chase Shores is, can he get through the first inning unscathed? I asked him that question. This is something that he even thinks about. Like, it's not just a talking point for the media. Like, he even thinks about these things before the game. Can I get through this inning without giving up a run? Because if I could do that, the second, the third, the fourth, I can dominate that. And that was the story against Purdue Fort Wayne. 5 innings. The first one was a little shaky. Allowed 3 hits, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts, and he faced 17 batters. He gets better as the game goes along. He's going to get better as the season goes along. The X factor and the thing you should be wondering about anytime Chase Shores starts is, can he just get the first 3 outs, 4 outs, 5 outs? Because from there, I think that he is very difficult to face and just gets better. It's like wine. Just ages, gets better with age. That's Chase Shores to me as the game goes along, as the season goes along. And then Connor Ware, making his LSU debut, 3 innings, a walk, 2 strikeouts, faced 9 batters. So the strikeout number is not high, but again, he's more of a soft contact, get outs that way kind of pitcher. So broad strokes, LSU's deep. They're very talented. And right now, they're a collective. They're one. You know, there's a lot of guys that could play, playing time, at bats, you know, they're up for grabs. They're hard to get. But right now, this team is bonded together into one nucleus, and the coaching staff is happy about that. And you just hope as a fan that it stays that way and people don't start to feel some type of way that they're not getting the opportunity somebody else is. So a lot of options, a lot of talent. The Tigers will get tested at times. They're going to lose some games. But I think that this team, I said it before the season, I'm going to continue to echo it until I feel otherwise, is a national championship contender and a team that can get to Omaha. So continue to look for that outfield depth, the top of the lineup to continue to dominate. Daniel Dickinson's a guy you got to watch from a two-way standpoint. Who steps up at the catcher position and who kind of, you know, stays in the mix there from a bullpen standpoint when it comes to pitching. And do we see any kind of changes to the starting pitching rotation? I don't think so. So a lot of LSU baseball talk, and we got 3 more months of this ahead of us, if not more. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We've only kind of had the appetizer to it. Much more still to come from the Tigers and from us here on Game Time with John Eads. So however and wherever you're watching us, again, very much appreciate you taking some time to hang out, and we will see you guys again very soon. Have a good rest of your day.